What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 235. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Poliana Viana versus Hannah. Can't say this chick's last name, and both these chicks are pretty good. They're both pretty well-rounded. Hannah's mainly a striker. I think Poliana's a little bit more of a grappler. I think it's pretty close. I think it could go either way. I haven't seen any of these chicks fight enough to have a great grasp on how good either of them are, but I'm just leaning towards Poliana. I just think she's a little bit more well-rounded. But like I said, I haven't seen any of these chicks fight enough to know how well-rounded they are. Next is Gina Manzi versus Macy. Macy won the last season of Ultimate Fighter. I think she's really good. She's really big. She's moving down to 135. That's a little weird. I don't know why she isn't staying at 145. She's a huge chick. I mean, you know what I mean? She's really tall. I'm wondering if she can even make this weight. I thought this was at 145, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering. I'm going to lead towards Macy, but like I said, I don't know what that weight cut's going to do to her because she's huge. I mean, I'm shocked that she can even make this weight. Overall, grappling-wise, both these chicks are primarily grapplers. I think Macy's a little bit better of a striker, but yeah, I'll lean towards Macy to get the submission win. Next, we got Edmund Shabazian versus Charles Byrd, and, you know, both these guys fought the black dude from London, I can't remember his name, and Charles Byrd got knocked out, and Edmund almost got knocked out like 3 or 4 times, but he barely won a decision that I don't really think he won. I think he kind of just hung on to him and held him down a little bit, but was getting dropped repeatedly. It's tough because both these guys are primarily wrestlers, and I think Edmund's just a little bit better of a wrestler. Neither one of these guys is great strikers, but like I said, I think Edmund's a little bit better of a wrestler, and I'm going to lean towards him to get a split decision. Next is Diego Sanchez versus Mickey Gall, and even though Mickey Gall's look good, he's like 4-1 in the UFC. I feel like he's just been fighting a lot of low-level dudes. His one loss was against a guy who was a striker, and he got out-wrestled. I think Diego Sanchez is a much better wrestler. I mean, Mickey Gall's younger, and he's going to improve every fight, but he's not a dangerous threat on the feet. And if it's on the ground, I just think Diego's going to out-hustle him in any position, whether Diego's on top or on the bottom. I think Diego's going to eventually get on top if he's on the bottom. I think when he's on top, he's just going to be landing more ground and pound. And I think the same thing's going to happen every round. I think unless Mickey Gall catches him with a big punch like he did to Sage Northcutt, I think Diego's going to get the takedown every round and just win by decision. Next, we got Cody Stamann versus Alejandro Perez, and I think Alejandro Perez is going to win this fight pretty easily. I think his boxing, his movement, and his takedown defense are just better than Cody Stamann's. I don't think Cody's good enough to get him to the ground. I think that boxing-wise, Cody's decent, but I just think Alejandro's much better. Cody's probably the heavier hitter. If he can catch him with a big shot, he could end it, but I just believe more in Perez's movement and overall boxing skill, and I think he's just going to dance around Cody for 3 rounds and win a decision. Next, we got Misha Korshkov versus Johnny Walker, and I know people are super high on Johnny Walker, but, I mean, people must not have really watched that Dana White looking for a fight thing, which was literally just a year ago. That was his first fight in the UFC, technically, and when he fought somebody who survived those first, 3 minutes, he doesn't look amazing. I mean, overall, he's just really big, and that's why he won that fight. The guy he was fighting, I felt like as the fight was going on, was starting to land a little bit more on him, but Johnny Walker was able to just kind of out-wrestle him because he was way bigger than him. It's not going to happen against Misha. I mean, Misha could get caught like how Misha got caught against the Swiss dude. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But, you know what I mean? If he doesn't get caught in those first 3 minutes, I think Misha's going to dominate this fight. I think if Misha gets this to the ground, he's better everywhere, whether he's on top or on bottom. I feel like, like I said, striking-wise, Johnny Walker's the better striker, but it's not like Misha's incompetent. I feel like, once again, Misha's more physically a threat. I think his build is he's more stacked. And I think on the ground, he's levels above Johnny. And like I said, the longer this fight goes, I think Misha's conditioning is way better. And that's just what I think is going to happen. If he doesn't get caught in the first 3 minutes, I think Misha wins this fight 9 times out of 10. That's what I'm going with. I say he gets it to the ground and wins by either rear naked choke or arm triangle. Next is Jeremy Stephens versus Zabit, and this fight's really tough because I feel like if Zabit can get this to the ground, he'll win, but Jeremy Stephens' takedown defense is really amazing. Like, people don't give him enough credit for how good his takedown defense has gone over the last few years. Like, I can't remember the last time someone just took him down and controlled him. Like, Frankie Edgar did a little bit, but I don't think he was able to just do whatever he wanted in that fight. You know, he was able to get the takedowns, but he wasn't able to just dominate him there. I think this is going to be a striking fight, and I think that if it's a striking fight, I think Jeremy's going to be moving forward the whole time. And we saw when Zabit fought Kyle Bochniak. You know, the longer you can keep forcing him to fight, eventually he's going to get tired. Like that last minute, but Kyle's just teeing off on him. I mean, Zabit was throwing back, but he really didn't have the energy to get away from the fence. And I feel like Jeremy's going to put way more pressure on him, and he's going to hit him way harder than Kyle did. You know, Kyle only has like 2 knockouts of his wins. He's a good boxer, but he's not a heavy hitter. I think if Jeremy does the same thing, just pressures him, he might get the knockout. You know, Zabit, if he gets this to the ground, I think he submits Jeremy, because I think his jiu-jitsu is just way better, which is what makes this fight so tough. Just kind of depends on what you think is going to happen, but I'm just leaning towards Jeremy. I think he eventually tires Zabit out, and I think he gets him against the fence and knocks him out with like an uppercut. Next is Cody Garbrandt versus Pedro Mahoz, and Pedro Mahoz is so weird because he has this really good ability at hitting guys after he gets hit. Like, it's not necessarily a great counter puncher. It's not brawling. It's just this weird, really good, like, he gets better at, like, timing his opponent's punches as the fight goes on, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think Cody is just too fast and too technical. The only way Cody loses this fight is if he does what he did against TJ and just swings in the middle. As long as he doesn't get nuts like that, he should win this fight. I think he's faster, more technical, and his takedown defense is too good. I think he's just going to dance around him for 3 rounds and win a decision. Like I said, the only way he loses this fight is if he did what he did against TJ and just swings in the middle, because then he's just going to be too stationary for Pedro. You know, Pedro's probably one of the slowest guys he's fought. You know, it's not like Pedro sucks. He's a great striker. He's just not fast. I think Cody's just got, he's at least 2 or 3 levels higher than him speed-wise, at least 1 level higher than him technique-wise, too. And like I said, as long as he isn't stationary, he should easily win a decision. Next is Tecia Torres versus Weili Zhang, and this is the same thing. If Tecia just stays mobile, she should win this fight. I think she's a lot faster. I think she's a much better striker at distance. I think that her takedown defense is good enough to keep this on the feet. It's just conditioning-wise. I don't know if she can do it for 3 rounds, but I think she should be able to do it for at least 2. I feel like if Tecia, as long as she doesn't clinch up with Weili in the first 2 rounds, she should be able to dance around her for at least 2 out of the 3 rounds. Probably all 3, in all honesty, and just get a unanimous decision. I think she's the much better striker at distance, and she's great at fighting at the distance. Next, we got Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren, and this fight's so tough because Ben Askren, he, as good as he is, he hasn't been fighting great people for a while. I mean, he's really only been fighting mediocre dudes or guys who are, you know, lightweights. So it's hard to tell how great he is. You know, even though he's 18-0, he hasn't been fighting great people since Bellator, which was a few years ago. And he's getting older, so I don't know. The other thing is he has, like, no striking whatsoever, in all honesty. I feel like he's basically a lot like John Fitch. And the thing is, Robbie Lawler's takedown defense, people don't give him enough credit for it. I feel like, you know, when he fought RDA, he tore his ACL, so he got taken down a little bit more in that fight than usual. But other than that fight, he doesn't get taken down very often. When he does, guys don't just, like, kick his ass on the ground. They have a hard time holding him down there. And I feel like, you know, like when you look at Johnny Hendricks has much better boxing than Ben Askren. He, you know, was able to mix up the strikes with his punches, and I just don't know. Like, even Usman and Colby Covington, like, people don't give them enough credit for their striking. Both those guys have great striking, and they mix it with their wrestling. Ben Askren doesn't have that striking, and I think that's what's going to fuck him in the end. I think he's just going to be reaching, and I think he hasn't fought somebody as good as Robbie, and I think Robbie's going to catch Ben with an uppercut. And I think when he does, I think he's going to put him on the mat and knock him out. So I got Robbie winning by first round KO. I was going to say, you know, Ben could just dog him for 3 rounds. Like, that's really a strong possibility, but I'm just hoping that doesn't happen. I'm leaning towards Robbie, but, you know, everyone knows what Ben's going to do. If Ben can keep him down and hold them, he'll win, but I just don't see that happening. Next, we got Tyron Woodley versus Kamaru Usman, and this fight's it's weird because I feel like Tyron Woodley has such good one-punch knockout power that he can win this fight any point in time. But I feel like other than that, Usman's just the better guy. I think that wrestling-wise, Tyron Woodley's the stronger wrestler, but Usman's just 10 times better conditioning-wise. It's ridiculous how good Usman and Covington had the best conditioning out of anybody in, like, the 170-pound history, in my opinion. They just push insane paces, and I don't think anyone can keep up with them. I feel like Usman is just going to continuously pressure Woodley. I think he's going to wrestle with him against the fence. He's probably not going to be able to take him down, but I think he's going to wear him out. And unless Woodley can land that big punch, I think Usman's just going to outwork him and get a decision or finish him late. Like I said, I just think Usman's the much better conditioned fighter, And I think that he is going to push an insane pace on Woodley that Woodley's not going to keep up with. And I think he's just going to edge out the fight either 3 or 4 rounds to 1 or 2, or Woodley catches him. And if Woodley doesn't catch him, which I don't think is going to happen because he just doesn't throw enough, I just feel like Usman is going to win this fight. So I got Usman winning at least 3 out of the 5 rounds. Finally, we got Jon Jones versus Anthony Smith. And Anthony Smith deserves this fight. I know people are kind of giving this fight some shit because it's obvious Anthony Smith's not going to win. This is the simple fact. Whenever Jon Jones decides to take him down, he'll win. And I say decide because that's what's going to happen. Striking-wise, it's kind of close-ish. Jones is definitely better, but, I mean, if Smith can get close to him and clinch up with him, he could finish him, but this isn't going to happen. I feel like Jones, whenever he decides to take him down, he will, and then he's going to either mount him or flatten him out and just rain down elbows and win by KO. It's going to happen in the first round, unless Jones decides not to take him down for whatever reason, but I don't see it happening. I think, like I said, the second Jones takes him down, he wins. And I think it's going to be first round KO. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.